On today's episode, we'll talk about learning Steadicam from Larry McConkey, Eat, Pray, Love, The Bourne Supremacy, Wes Anderson's Secret Weapon, and of course, defying the laws of physics. Just a little bit of business before we start. There may be a curse word here or there in this episode, so please listen responsibly. As always, our website, theop.io, is up and chock full of tips, tricks, and gooey operator goodness. Make sure to check out The Breakdown, where the best operators in the biz explain shots they have done, The Musings, where we discuss everything from quick tips to larger concepts of storytelling, the answers, the images, and so much more. I may or I may not take a break or two during this episode, but I promise that none of them will be longer than 22 seconds.
Hey everybody, Danny Brown here, creator of the Knuckle Puck, and we at Knuckle Puck Camera are proud supporters of this episode of The Op. The Knuckle Puck is a camera accessory loved by operators and camera assistants alike that allows the operator to pan and tilt with precision and ease. Check it out at knucklepuckcamera.com and make sure to follow us on Instagram at knucklepuckcamera.
Finally, if you are enjoying the podcast, please follow us, write a review, share us with your parents, and talk us up around the water cooler with your friends. So grab a beverage, sit back, and enjoy The Op. Thanks for listening.
Live it up, nice and quiet, and let's roll. Rolling.
Victor 30 Echo, take 2.
Hey, Mark. Hey, Mark.
And camera set. And action.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Op Podcast, the podcast where we talk about operating in the art of visual storytelling. My name is Dave Comides. I'm your host, and I can't tell you how excited I am today to have our guest today, Sanjay Sami, who is a key grip, dolly grip, Steadicam operator hyphenate. He's done kind of anything. Basically, if you're doing a massive movie and probably even a small movie, and it seems like anywhere else but like North or South America or maybe Antarctica, or you maybe tell me I'm wrong about that, Sanjay. He's the guy that you get. Some of the movies, the list of movies that he's done is just it's unbelievable. But Asteroid City, French Dispatch, Tenet, Sense8, Silence, Life of Pi, Bourne Supremacy. He's, for the last 19 years, been basically attached at the hip to Wes Anderson on pretty much everything that he has done, with the exception of the animated movies. He is, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, the only key grip I've ever known that had a full New York Times article done about him, about being a director's secret weapon. A really cool guy who has done some amazing work. And anytime, I'll tell you, Sanjay, anytime I mention your name to someone, they go, "Oh my gosh, Sanjay." Yeah. So thank you for being here. It's so cool to have you on the podcast.
Oh, it's a pleasure, Dave. Thanks for having me.
This is great. And actually, this is exciting because like you and I have over the internet, we've emailed back and forth or whatever, or this or that, but we only met like once for 2 hours on Moonrise Kingdom or something like
Yeah,
that.
exactly. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I remember I came out, I did one shot that took like an hour and a half, and I left, and it was like, okay, I don't even think I met Wes.
Yeah.
So tell me how. So by the way, I should mention, I didn't mention, Sanjay is in Mumbai, and we're over the internet, so that's what's making this possible. But and the only reason I think I'm able to talk to you probably is because the film industry seems to have shut down, because I'm sure otherwise you'd be working like crazy on some Scorsese movie or something like that.
Yeah, I was in Germany with Wes actually right now doing a commercial.
Oh, no way. Okay. Does he do a lot of commercials?
Not a lot, but he does the occasional commercial, maybe one a year or something like that.
And if I saw it, would not knowing it, would I go, that looks like a Wes Anderson frame?
Oh,
like
you'd know right away.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to look up. I don't know. Actually, the funny thing is, streaming and whatever, I don't know the last time I saw a commercial, actually. So I'll have to Google them and I'll link them in the podcast, but I'll have to ask you what. So Sanjay, tell me, how did you become the New York Times favorite key grip?
I have no idea.
What's your story? How did you get into this?
Well, when I was finishing college, I started working as a diver, as a commercial diver. I trained as a commercial diver, an oil rig diver, basically, and so that was. I started off as a surface supplied air diver, mainly working for the oil industry as an underwater pipeline maintenance and that kind of stuff. So I was a commercial diver, and what I was always planning to do was to find something else to do, because you can't really you can't be a saturation diver for very long. So the common wisdom is do it for 5 years, make money, and then get out and find something else to do. So
Wait, what's a saturation diver? Does that have to do with like you mean like nitrogen and all that stuff? Like the
yeah, it's basically you when you work at great depths, you don't want to come back up to the surface every day, because it's a lot of strain going through the decompression. So you get compressed once, and then you stay in a chamber for the duration of your work, say a month, and then you dive every day. You go back into the chamber, then you come out. At the end of it, you decompress and come out after a month. So
oh my
it's
gosh, that's unbelievable.
it's a it's a little bit of a change from the film business,
Yeah, 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 a little bit.
but yeah. So I was always looking for an alternative career as well. So the film industry, we had a marine, strangely enough, a marine contractor strike while while I was working in the as a diver, and that gave me the chance to kind of explore other stuff. And a friend of mine was working on set, and said, "Why don't you come and try this out?" So I initially worked in construction, and I kind of tried my hand at various different things. And since I had never formally learned anything about the film industry, I kind of made my own rules a little bit about the way I approached everything. And I think in some ways I still keep doing that.
Say so. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So do you remember what those early movies were? Were they Indian movies or were they movies that were coming from the States or
No, initially it was I worked mainly on commercials. I did because it was all 1 day here, 3 days here, 4 days here, bits and pieces. And then slowly I got more and more entrenched, and I started working on movies only towards the late 90s. I started
uh-huh.
I started working in the business in the early 90s. I think 92 was my first year, and then my I started working on movies in the later 90s.
And were you gripping at that time yet or were
Yes,
you
by
were you
by
just
then I was gripping. Yeah.
it was just like a third hammer on the crew or whatever it
Yeah,
was?
yeah, yeah. All kinds of stuff. It was in India. It's a very loose kind of in those days. It was very loose. If you went onto a set, you could do pretty much any job you wanted to.
Oh, really?
If you
Okay.
yeah, you could assist
Yeah.
anyone in any department, and there were it wasn't apart from heads of department, it wasn't very clearly delineated. So I could
Gotcha.
I could have, like, if I was doing a TV series, for example, with a multi-camera setup, I could be working in construction during pre-production and wind up operating a camera on the actual shoot day.
Wow, that's wild.
Yes.
Do they just grab whoever's like closest to the camera and they go, "You're doing this"?
Yeah, they'll give you a shot, and it's very low stakes, so they'll give you a shot and see how you do, and if you're doing good, then you get called back. If you're not doing good, you get kicked out.
That's pretty cool actually. So let me ask you a question because as the Sanjay Sami that I know now, and we'll get into this obviously, like you're the type of person who looks at something that seems impossible and tends to figure out a way to make it work. So was that something that in your mind back then you were looking at what was being done and thinking, oh, that could be done better. I know yeah, I could figure
Yeah,
that out or
all the time. I always thought, even today, I build my own rigging equipment. I have my own workshop, and because I'm a trained, I used to be a welder, underwater welder, and I also um, I'm a machinist as well. So the one thing that I always had ideas for was rigging. I always felt like the stuff that you could buy off the shelf, from all the companies, that were selling rigging equipment was very badly thought out. So I started building my own rigging equipment, and I always felt like there's probably a faster way to do this. There's an easier way to do this. There's a stronger way to do this, and
yeah,
and
yeah.
I always come up with something, and then sometimes it wouldn't really work, and then and or it would work, but it was so complicated. I thought it was simple and it would be complicated. But sometimes I'd come up with ideas. The rigging system that I use today for cameras is a system I basically came up with about 20 years ago, and I still use it. I have had an idea to change it now, but I haven't had the time to sit in my workshop. But now I think I'm going to have some time now. So
Of the time. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. For what you just said about, like, looking at things and thinking, I mean, in all honesty, and I hope you take this the way I mean it, it reminds me of Garrett Brown, who invented the Steadicam in a number of ways. Number one, because Garrett invented the Steadicam, what, 50 years ago now or something like that. And it still essentially works exactly the same way. It's like proof of concept. But the other
yeah,
thing is he's the type of person who, I mean, just last night I was at a Steadicam class, and he zoomed in, and in the middle of talking he went, "Excuse me one second," and he wrote something down. And it's just, I know for a fact he suddenly cracked the code on something that he was trying to figure out or whatever, and he's trying to constantly look at things and going, there has to be a better way to do that. Like, I can improve on that. So that sort of makes me think of that. But the question I was going to ask you was, when you were first starting out, was it tough to hold back and not say something to the people who were much higher up than you about what could be better, or did you get into trouble with that? Or
yeah. I did get into trouble a few times because I didn't, not being from the film industry, I didn't understand the protocol of people don't really always appreciate some random guy coming up and telling them that that they know a better way to do it. Because and now I understand it now, but I quickly understood it then as well.
yeah, yeah,
it,
yeah, yeah,
it,
you get
it,
it
it,
pretty quickly, right?
yeah, it didn't
Yeah,
take long for me to get schooled on the correct etiquette on set.
yeah. But you also mentioned, something about the fact you said something about the rigging that you made that didn't work, and that's such a big part of getting to where you finally are, right? Is like you failing is actually almost as important as succeeding, because it pushes you forward, right?
Yeah, I think failing is really important, and I think what I always say is that what experience teaches you, and what really, when you're on set and you're one of the experienced people on set, especially as a key grip, or as a camera operator, as a DP, or as a gaffer, what they're paying for really is your ability to know what doesn't work. It's as important as knowing what does work, because sometimes someone comes up with a method and you know straight away that this is not going to work, and you don't want to waste 6 hours rigging something that's not on the day is not going to work at all. You're not going to
Yeah,
get the shot the way the director imagined it, or the cinematographer imagined it. So
yeah.
I think part of what you get paid for really is your ability to know what doesn't work. It's as important as what does work.
That's such a great lesson, actually. That's so, yeah, because all those failures, right? If the failures teach you nothing, then they're just failures. But they're
Yeah,
successes if you put them in your back pocket and you go, okay, well, I'm never doing that again, and so
yeah,
you don't
yeah,
go down
exactly.
down that road. There's no question. That's fantastic. So how long did you sort of stay a regular, hammer, on the grip crew before you moved up to King or Dolly Grip?
Well, so I started on the dolly in about around 97, 98, and then by 99 I was 99 2000 I was keying.
Yeah. Wow. And how old were you at that point?
Uh Let let me calculate. I guess 30. Well, I was born. Yeah, so yeah,
In your
about 30.
30s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the early 30s. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, and in India, does the key grip generally push the dolly? Is that a normal thing, or is that just what you do?
No, not always. It depends on the kind of movie. But
Yeah.
for me, it was always the part I loved the best. So
Why is
I would
that? What aspect of it
I
speaks to you?
loved moving the camera. I love the fact that you're entrusted with moving the eyes of the viewer. uh,
Yeah.
it's a great responsibility, because it's a very powerful storytelling tool, and you have the stillness tells one story, a very slow move tells another story. Uh, Moving across foreground gives you something completely different. Um, a stop, it's all punctuation and the grammar of telling. It's a full stop, it's a comma, it's an exclamation mark. All of these
It's
things
great.
are such a huge part of the storytelling process. So I feel like I get entrusted to be able to to take the viewer's eyes and move them through our story. So I've always loved doing that.
It's such a beautiful way to describe it. It's absolutely right. There's nothing like it because it's. I mean, I've always said, and a lot of people agree with me. I'm sure you would too. I think the dolly grip should be part of the camera crew. They should be in the camera local. I mean, nothing against the grip local, but it's like what they're doing is camera movement just as much. I mean, clearly they're doing camera movement, but
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
just as much part of it.
yeah, it is. It is. I think the operator and dolly grip together, it's two parts of the same story.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
it's two hands, because the dolly grip is moving the operator through space. If he's not in the right place at the right time, or it doesn't move, he needs to feel the story as much as the operator does.
There's so much to the idea that clearly you have to know how to move from A to B. But the big thing that to me makes a great dolly grip is that they know why they're moving from A to B. They
Yeah,
understand the story,
absolutely.
and like you were telling, they understand the punctuation and everything. That's fantastic. So did that sort of what you learned as a dolly grip make you go, oh, I want to be a Steadicam operator and be completely in control of moving and panning and tilting and everything?
Yeah, well, so an interesting story. Steadicam was in India in the late '90s was nobody's child. It wasn't in any union. It wasn't in the camera union or the grip union, and
Oh wow.
so we there weren't very many Steadicam operators. So when I did start doing it, it wasn't really officially in the camera union or the grip union. But I just
Oh,
felt it was another tool to move the camera and to be able to, it's a very liberating storytelling tool. So I decided I took it up a little bit by accident. I bought someone's rig because it was for sale, and then I operated very badly for a few years until I actually actually figured it
that's
out.
great. That's great. What what
Yes,
what model did you buy? Do you know?
it
Do you
was a
remember?
3A.
3A. So it was
Yeah.
already like an established Steadicam. It was past
Yes,
the
yeah,
one and the
yeah. But
two.
it was
Yeah.
it was a little bit. I bought it secondhand from an Indian operator in the south, and there were only about 3 or 4 rigs in India at that time, and he was
Yeah.
selling his rig, and it was the arm. He had done a lot of modifications to it himself. I think he had bought
Everybody
some
did.
parts. He had bought some
Yeah.
parts himself, and I think his vest was almost entirely homemade. And I had to modify. I was a lot bigger than him, so I had to modify it quite a lot to get it to fit me. But
That's
but
awesome. I love it.
yeah, yeah. But in the end, it was I got it to work, but my operating was horrendous. But in those days, horrendous operating was still considered quite good. So
That was a great time to get into Steadicam because people were
yeah,
like, "You showed up and you have the equipment. This is great." It was the same here.
that's it.
Like I used to do these horrible rap music videos, and everyone was just like, "Great, you're here," and they didn't. And that was the end of it. It's like you know how to
Yeah,
put it on, and it was a great time to learn. But I think for people listening now, it's important to point out that when you started Steadicam, there was no internet, so you couldn't look up
yeah.
how to
No,
There was
no,
there were
no,
no tutorials. There was maybe by then the Steadicam operator's handbook if you could find it
no, no,
somewhere.
no. I hadn't even heard of any of this.
There you go. And equipment you couldn't like go on the internet and purchase something from Amazon and have, I mean it was just what you found or what you
Yeah.
made or whatever. So you were really like out there in the wilderness figuring
No,
it
I,
out.
I was really lucky because in 2000, I did I was lucky in this that I was also a key grip. So I happened to, and I was working on international jobs. So I would meet Steadicam operators, real Steadicam operators,
Oh,
and
wow. Yeah.
then I'd get I'd just pump them for information. So I did a job with Jeff Mart, and we
Amazing.
were
Yeah.
this was in 2000 or 2001, I think, and he didn't have very much Steadicam work, so he was mostly unemployed, really, but he was on set. So any chance I got, I'd catch him and get him to teach me. And
That's
and it
amazing.
and
What a
and it
great guy to have teach you, because
yeah, absolutely. And you
he
won't believe it.
yeah.
A few years later, I had the same thing with Larry McConkey. I was in another
Oh my
movie with
gosh.
I was in another movie with Larry, and then I had Larry, who took the time to help me out as well. So I had these two great guys who kind of were who very kindly mentored me on on the techniques, and just corrected the way I was
Yeah.
standing, the way all of these things that I didn't really even the fine tuning of the balance of it, and just understanding a little bit about it. And it certainly to get a month with Larry McConkey or 2 months with
Oh,
Larry McConkey, I mean, there'd be people who'd sell their house for that.
there's no question about it. So, would you remember what movie that was with Larry?
Yeah, with Larry, it was Eat, Pray, and Love.
Okay.
That was later. It was in 2008, I think it was. And
Yeah, that was
with Jeff,
Ryan Murphy. Ryan Murphy directed that
that's
movie.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh wow.
I was a key grip, and Larry was the B camera, steady cam. Bob
Wow.
Richardson was on A camera. So,
Sure.
uh,
That's
but
incredible. Well, it brings up something, and again, I'll just go back to the fact that I'm helping teach this Steadicam Operators Association workshop this week. We were talking about this yesterday. Is I don't know many other um, careers where especially back then, there's a small group of people who know how to do what they do, and it's
yes,
and it's a lucrative career, and it's a sought after career, whatever. Who absolutely want to share what they know and give it to someone else, and in the hopes that whoever's they're going to teach is just going to make us that much better and figure out the next thing. It's kind
yeah,
of amazing, and just the fact that these guys would come out and meet you and go, yeah, I'm sure I'll show you everything I know, I'll answer any
yeah,
questions. I love that. That's
yeah,
what make it's one of the things I love about Steadicam operators. It's just everybody just wants to make it better. That's really cool. That's really cool.
yeah.
So did you ever take go and take a formal course anywhere, or just did you glean from people you met?
No, I basically learned from the people I met, but I did do a workshop and Gareth was actually at the workshop.
Oh
So
wow.
that for me, that was the highlight of it. Really, was to
Yep.
physically to meet Gareth and be able to speak to him, and his stories are just amazing. I mean,
It's unbelievable. Yeah.
it's not just his stories; it's his ability to tell them as well.
It's again, I keep going back to this, but just last night he zoomed in and talked for like an hour and a half. And what
Yeah,
you realize is, and we should say, this is Garrett Brown, the inventor of the Steadicam. As many, well, I think he told me he has like 123 patents or something like that. He's invented so many things, it's
yeah, he's a
ridiculous.
genius.
But, but he is, but he also, he has a way of thinking about camera movement that
Yeah,
yesterday he was breaking down like the way the optic nerve looks at motion. I mean, it's just he has thought about it more than most people have ever done
yeah,
it.
yeah,
And it's really that's really cool. That's a great thing to be a part of right there.
yeah.
That's very cool. So, at what point did you become sort of the go-to key grip, if I can say that, for people coming to Europe and coming to Asia and whatnot?
Well, I mean, I honestly don't know. I couldn't answer that question, but I think it was. I think it just became word of mouth because I think in many ways I was, I had such a wide area of expertise. Well, maybe not expertise, but jack of all trades.
Yeah, I think
but
you could probably go to expertise, but I'll do that. You don't have to. Yeah.
but I like. I have marine experience. I have, I always believe, and I tell my kids this as well. Uh, Learn as much as you can about everything because everything crosses over. When you know how to how to fix a car, uh, that knowledge will help you in the most unexpected way somewhere else. Not
Yeah.
necessarily to fix the car, but it all works together. So the broader your base of knowledge and the broader your base of experience, uh, the better you'll always find. Oh, okay, that worked for that. I think some of this will work here, and
Yeah.
And I always, often when I'm watching YouTube, I'll watch, like Japanese carpenters, or I watch, an Australian guy who repairs, huge mining hydraulic equipment in mines, and it's just I find it fascinating to wrap my head around the way they think and the way they problem solve, because e- everyone, whether it's a guy who's making a kind of a very ornate wooden partition inside a room, or a guy who's repairing, a excavator bucket in the middle of the Australian outback, how each person approaches a problem and solves it, I always find fascinating.
It's amazing. Well, but it's just like, look, you clearly have a thirst for knowledge, and you just realize, I don't know when this is going to help me, but well, there
Yeah.
used to, I guess it's still around. Have you ever seen this? What it was on, like Lifetime? No, I don't. It was a History Channel. I don't know what it was, but there's a thing called How It's Made. Have you ever seen that?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
it's just literally like, here's
I
how they
love it.
make baseballs, and it'll be 15 minutes of
Yeah.
looking at the machinery, and every I had to actually, after a while, stop looking at them, because I'd realize I'd start, and like 2 hours would pass, and I'd be like,
Yeah.
I just get sucked in because it's fascinating, and just and a lot of times the thing that I always found was, it was really cool because you'd see it and you go, oh well, of course that's how it's done, but you just had never thought of it before, and then sometimes obviously you're surprised, but that's really cool, and I would imagine that at a certain point, whenever you got to that point, that because the big shows that are coming are going, well, let's get Sanjay because of his history and what I've heard about him and whatever, that you're then learning from some of the best people, the best filmmakers out there, right? I mean, it's like
Yeah.
these people are
Absolutely.
coming to your
And
door.
I'll tell you something. I also had the opportunity because, sometimes a big show would come to India, and then they'd already have a key grip that was coming in from the US with them. And I would then, for me, that was a real treat, because then I'd get to be a local key grip to another key grip. And then, where do you get a chance to learn like that? You get the opportunity to, so for me, one of the highlights of my career really was working with Herb Alt. And
Oh yeah, yeah,
he was a guy who um, was not just great at what he did, but he was also one of the most generous people with his with his knowledge, and with his I also learned a lot about how to conduct yourself on set from him, because he was a real gentleman. I never he handled himself with so much grace. And I always felt like, very early in my career, I was, there was a DP, an old, very, who I'm still friends with. He's retired many years ago, but we meet sometimes for a beer, and just to hang out. And when I was filming in London, he lives in Belgium, and he took the train across to London, and we went out for a meal, and we were sitting in the evening and having a drink. And he said, and I told him, I said, so many years ago, one of the most important things that has always stuck with me, you told me, and it was, always remember that there's someone else who can do your job who isn't an asshole. So, so
that's perfect.
so don't be an asshole, because
That's that's so great. By the way, that's like the wisest words you can give anybody. That's absolutely true. That's
yeah.
great. That's fantastic. At at a point, did you ever sort of go, I'm only going to be a steady camera operator, I'm not going to grip anymore, or was that ever a thought, or was it just sort of another tool that you had?
No, just another tool. For me, the overall picture of camera movement was the um, I love being a grip. To me, that's fundamentally, if I had to define who I was, I would say I'm a grip.
That's great. Yeah.
And
And so let me ask you, when these movies would come over,
yeah,
they would have a camera operator. It sounds like sometimes like Bob Richardson. I'm assuming he's camera operating himself.
yeah.
What do you think when you meet someone new, a camera operator who's new to you, and the first time you've worked with them, what's that? Is there like a breaking in period? Are you sort of like trying to figure out, how do you figure out what they need from you and what you can do for them? And
So as a dolly grip, and now I'm going to talk as a dolly grip and not as a key grip. But as a
Yeah.
dolly grip, essentially what I'd do is I would always try to figure out how the operator likes to work, and so often I'd say, I'd say, how do you want to do this? And the a good operator would usually say, why don't you feel it out? And if you trust your dolly grip, let him show you something to begin with. And I think a
Yeah.
good way to start is you look at a rehearsal, you look at the actor's block, you know where they're going to be for lighting or whatever, and then you do a rehearsal, and for the rehearsal you show the operator something. You take him through the move, and then from there you can correct each other and say, okay, maybe I need to be here a little bit. I want to rake over this person to see that, or that thing in the background is really important to see at this point, so we need to be over here. So I think a good way to kind of feel it out is to do the is to each one do it instinctively, and then from there you can start finessing how it goes.
And so when you're doing that as the dolly grip, that first, let's say that first rehearsal, right?
Yeah.
Are you sort of making mental notes of, oh, he didn't seem to notice that, so I'll probably keep an eye and make sure we know about that. But oh, he's very specific about this, so I'll pull back here and let him make sure he has. Are you trying to?
Yes.
Are you sort of figuring out what you should be in part, how much you should push and how much you should pull, if you will?
Yes, exactly. And also, initially you have to also you have to when you don't know the person that you're about to work with, you have to also respect the fact that there may be egos involved, and there's a lot of diplomacy involved in taking forward. You can't exert your will on so how you make a suggestion becomes important, until you develop a mutual trust with each other.
Sure.
And once the,
No,
once that gets established, it makes everything so much easier.
yeah. So now let me ask you another scenario. I come in and I'm a brand new operator.
Yeah.
I'm the son of the DP who he's going. You're going to be an operator on this $80 million movie, and I'm in way above my head. And I know I'm coming out to Germany or wherever, and that Sanjay Sami is going to be the key grip and the dolly grip. And so of course I look him up and I realize, oh my God, this guy's been working forever on huge things and totally knows what he does. Um, what do I come in and just go, Sanjay, what do we do? Or do I throw you my idea and then go, do you think that's right? What do how do I still be the operator even though I don't know how to be the operator yet with someone like you behind the dolly?
Well, so so there's so many political things at play here. The first
That's
is
why I asked.
yeah, the first is your dad's my boss. So
That's true. Okay. Let's take that out of it. Let's say it's not that. I
okay,
lucked into
yeah.
it.
So what I mean, for sure, what I do is sit with the operator and say, look, how do you want to go about this? Because uh, you are the operator, and we need to work together on this. So why don't you give me your ideas and I'll give you mine, and we'll work something out. And usually I'll do what I think works, and then let him respond to it. And often, if in my experience, when you have an inexperienced operator, the DP will be coming in and talking to me as well. So
Yeah.
it at the same time, I don't want to bypass the operator, because it it can lead to a sticky situation. But
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, usually in many cases, in some cases, like for example, directors who I've worked with a lot, the director will come in and talk to me directly, and in fact, uh, I'll have short breakdowns before almost anyone else does, because we have a lot, like with Wes Anderson, because we have lots of complicated stuff that has to be figured out quite far in advance.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I want to. I'm chomping at the bit to ask you about Wes Anderson, but I want to ask you one question along those lines first. Have you
yeah.
had a situation, and you don't have to tell me who it is if you have, but have you had a situation where you had a less experienced operator who did not want to listen to you, and if so, how do you deal with that?
Well, the way I look at it is there's only so much I can do. So I have had that on several occasions on well, not several, but at least on three big films I've had it. And I make my suggestion, and I hope usually what happens is the way it works is there's a little bit of politics involved in this, that they don't want to be shown up. They don't want they don't want it to look like the grip knows more than they do. So it's unfortunate because it's just a matter of experience and how many years and how many films I've done uh, versus them. But it does happen, and in that case, what I generally do is I try and stay out of the conflict area with them, and I just ask them how they want to do it, and I do make suggestions because sometimes I know it's not going to work their way, and I know that if we try and do it their way, it's going to waste a lot of time, and then everyone's going to look bad, particularly them. So
Yeah.
I try and I still owe it to the producer and to the DP and to the director who brought me in there for a reason to not allow that to happen. But as
Yeah.
far as
Yeah.
possible, if I know it's still going to work out okay, I will not. I'll try and let them have it, or you
Yeah.
can suggest things in a way that makes it look like it's their idea. And that's another way. I mean, the master of that really is Larry McConkey.
How so?
He, well, he can. If you watch him on set for, he can. Especially when you're working with big egos and fiery DPs. I'm not going to take any names, but I'm sure you can fill in the blanks. But but he will suggest a way to do the shot, and in a way that's so unoffensive, and it'll be uh, you know it'll be phrased in a way that makes everyone look like it was their idea. It all comes from Larry. He's a master of choreography, and
Yes.
but he'll make all of it look like it was someone else's idea, and he'll even pat them and say that was after he's done the shot. That was a great idea you came up with, but it was all from Larry. And I love watching him on set because you can learn. I mean, anyone who gets a chance to work with Larry McConkey should just take it. Even
Yeah.
even if even if you don't get paid for it, just go to watch him at work.
There should be like admission tickets to where you could just do that. By the way, on the website at theop.io, I'm doing these things I mentioned, the breakdown,
Yeah,
and Larry and I are doing probably one every 2 to 3 weeks for one of his shots. So the first one we did was Carlito's Way. I don't know if you've
yeah,
seen it, but it actually
yeah. Of
has the
course, yeah,
video tap in there, and you can hear him cueing and whatever. But I will tell you this because you mentioned this and it fits in nicely. I don't know what movie it was, but Larry did a ton of movies with Jack Nicholson, and apparently they had a very good relationship, but it was a very sort of like they purposely butted heads and they had fun doing it, and
yeah,
whatever. And and it sounds like from what Larry mentioned is that Jack understood how hard the things that Larry was doing was, but
yeah,
he liked having fun making them harder sometimes
yeah,
just
yeah,
because that was their relationship. So
yeah,
he said there was some movie and it was a a thin hallway and Larry had to do a move around Jack, and he went over and he said, "Hey Jack, when you come to this point, can you lean to the right so I can have room to get around you?" And he said Jack leaned into him and he goes, "Larry, I'm acting here. Don't mess with me." And so Larry stands there and he just goes, and he's standing there and he's just looking around and he's not doing anything, but apparently he's like looking around in sort of a very, large gesturing kind of way. And finally the AD goes, what's the problem? And Larry goes, well, the hallway's only this big and I'm this big and Jack's there and I'm just not, and he just let it trail off. And Jack looked at him and he goes, "Hey Larry, what if I get out of the way over here?" And Larry goes, "Oh, that's a genius. That could you do that would be great." But it's again, I mean, I think they were having fun with each other and that's
yeah,
where it went. But it's like you said,
yeah,
he is the master of sort of,
yeah,
lobbing a thought out there and letting
yeah.
it be someone else's thought, or how to
Absolutely,
do that. But you have to
absolutely.
be a chameleon like that, right? I mean, that's
Yeah,
part of it.
and you have to
Yeah.
you have to understand the politics and egos of the film business.
No question. There's a really amazing director, producer, showrunner that I work with named Chris Chulak, who has a saying that's the star of the movie is the movie.
Yeah, yeah,
Which is basically, I don't care how you make this work, it just has to
yeah,
work. So if you have to sort of like make it feel like someone else's idea, that's great.
yeah.
It's whatever it is.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
I couldn't agree
yeah,
more.
yeah.
I mean,
But I think
we're all there to service
well,
one vision.
exactly. Hopefully, that's what
Yeah,
we should be.
yeah,
But I think going back to my question that I had to you about working with someone like you, with I think that the key to the I just want to punctuate for younger operators, which I wish I knew, and I think I suspected, but I didn't know how to do it at the time because I started out very young. Is use all the people around you, because the truth of the
yeah,
matter is, with minor exceptions, almost everybody around you wants to succeed and for you to succeed, because that just makes the day go better, and you do
yes,
better work and everybody
absolutely,
wins. And
absolutely.
so I think there is that thing where you can go up to someone like Sanjay Sami on the Dolly and say, look, I don't really know where the track should go, but this is the shot. Can you help
Yeah,
me? And then you go, yeah, let's just do this and whatever. And
yeah,
everybody, and then they learn,
yeah.
so, yeah, there's definitely that. So Wes Anderson, I figure I should ask you something about Wes Anderson. What was the first thing that you guys worked on together?
Well, I was recommended to him when he was doing Darjeeling Limited because he was coming to India, and
Okay,
uh, and he was very keen to work with an Indian key grip, and I'm not sure how I got recommended to him. I think it was through Meera Nair, who's an Indian director who I'd worked with,
okay,
um, and yeah, so we worked together on Darjeeling Limited, and he, we were. It was a really crazy movie. We were filming on a real train moving through the Indian desert. Every morning we'd get in at one place and we'd go out half the day out into the desert and half the day back. And we're filming inside this real train, uh, and Wes was, after having decided not to do it on set and do it on a real train, he was stuck for a lot of things, and the corridor was too narrow for me to fit the Steadicam inside. We couldn't fit a dolly in there, so I suggested, I said, why don't we build like a custom overhead dolly that we can undersling a camera on to track through these cat corridors. And he was very skeptical. He was not sure that something like this could be pulled off, that it would work at all. And and I think he just decided that he's gonna, you know, trust that I know what I'm talking about.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I built it, and we used it extensively right through. I ran almost 300 feet of it through the entire train, and we shot a huge portion of the film off this you know custom made track and custom made dolly that is actually, you can see it in the film if you see the track on the ceiling, but it looks like it doesn't look like anything. It looks like it's part of the
oh
train.
wow, oh, I'll have
But
to look for that. Okay, yeah,
but
yeah,
a lot of the things that he felt like most I think he felt like most people would have said, oh, you can't do this or you can't do that, or and I just said, oh, okay, you want to do this, okay, let's figure out how we can do this, and he wanted
yeah,
to be able to change ND the windows on the fly very quickly. So since we were rebuilding the train, I had the art department build like filter trays into the windows. So and then I had hard NDs cut to the shape of the windows. So as the light was changing, we could just drop them in like filters
yeah,
and
yeah,
so there were little things that he thought were really good solutions. We also we did a lot of stuff with a rickshaw that I'd built, and we had to have the camera rigged to actors running carrying suitcases, and I just made them run with the rickshaw and the camera rigged onto the rickshaw behind them, so they had to pull the camera with them. But you know
that's amazing.
so it was he enjoyed my solutions because they were all low tech, simple, effective solutions, and he kind of liked that approach. So
Yeah.
we so then we took it forward from movie to movie.
Is he the type of filmmaker who basically, and I would imagine because he has you in his back pocket, um, doesn't consider how it's going to be done, just considers how do I want to tell this story, and then he comes to you and says, "All right, how do we do this?"
Yeah, exactly. So
That's fan.
he he does now. Now he does an animatic, so it's like a cartoon of the shot, and
Oh, okay.
it's like the whole movie is almost animated, and so we look at the animation. So that's actually there's the shot in the French Dispatch, which I'll show you the behind the scenes for it. But it
Yeah.
was it basically we track across and then we track back, and it's all super hard stops with very very specific architectural elements in the right of frame, left of frame, extreme hard stops, and I was looking at it and I was like, oh, this can't be done on a techno crane because firstly we have to change, lateral, pull back, across, push in. The changes of direction. It can't be dance floor. It's not precise enough. It can't be techno crane. It's not precise enough. It can't be steady cam. So I called up Wes after I looked at it and I said, Wes, is this one shot? It seems to be one shot in the cartoon. And he says,
Yeah.
"Yeah, I did imagine it to be one shot." I said, "Well, like there's four changes of direction in 90 degrees with very very hard, precise, centralized stops." And he says, "Yeah." I said, "So how are we going to do that?" He said, "Well, I figured that you would find a way to do it." So
That's your problem.
yeah, essentially. So
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 because the people listening can't see it, although I'll put a link to it. I mean, this is a shot that basically is a very very controlled, like all of Wes Anderson's frames, um, dolly move that makes what, three right angle changes in directions, or
yeah,
four or something like that.
one, two, yeah, three right angle changes of direction.
Was that the first time you sort of, what do you call that square? What is there? Have you
Well,
come up with a term for this?
yeah, we Wes calls it the Mangalore rig because actually we came up with a single change of direction, which is much simpler, just a straight 90.
Yeah.
The three different changes is very complicated. I'll explain the reasons, but basically the single 90 we did for an H&M commercial, which you can watch on YouTube. If you just put a search for H&M Wes Anderson, you'll be able to see it. And
I'll link to that. Yeah.
so we had to do a this. So when I was trying to wrap my head around it, I was actually working with Alvin Kuchler. Do you know Alvin Kuchler, the DP?
I don't. No.
Oh,
No.
okay, he's a great guy, brilliant DP. I was doing a Samsung mobile phone commercial with him, and and I was sitting, uh, with a drawing, and he was asking me, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Oh, I have to find the solution because I'm going to London to do a commercial with Wes, and he wants to do this thing." And he's like, the next morning before we were filming in a place called Mangalore. And the next day before we started filming, I went in early with a couple of the grips, and I had this idea, and we built this rig. And when Alvin walked in, and he was like, "Wow, that's brilliant!" And he was looking at it, and then I took a video of it and I sent it to Wes, and Wes is like, "Yes, this is exactly what we're going to do." And he said, "What should we call it?" So we have different names for all the rigs we build for
That's
various
great.
solutions.
I love it. Well, and it is one of those. So was French Dispatch the first time you really did that many turns in a dolly move?
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It is one of those things. It's a little hard to understand until you see it, but then when you see it, because you've got dolly track that's moving on other dolly track, and it's sort of, it's just hard to comprehend that it works, and that you could, because it definitely is the kind of thing that most people would say, "What, you can't do that."
Yeah.
That doesn't
Well,
work.
even when we built it, everyone who was watching us put it together. Many of the grips who I had with me, who had never worked with me before, were like, "This can't work." And then I had everyone saying, "This is not going to work." I had
Yeah.
the focus puller saying that this is not going to work, and then we shot it.
Sure enough. And I mean, like I said, I'll put the behind the scenes on there and the shot, because it's just incredible. And a lot of these shots, there's no DP or operator writing. You are the operator as the dolly grip completely.
Yeah. It's all done with boom and track.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
West traditionally doesn't like the camera to pan or tilt unless it's unless it's to very obviously reframe something else, So it'll
Absolutely.
usually be a whip pan or something like that.
So are you really, quote unquote, like I said, just in that scenario, are you really operating most of his movies as the Dolly Group?
A lot of the shots, yes, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
uh,
That's
Probably like 80% of the shots, yeah.
that's incredible. And part of the French Dispatch move is not only obviously like how is that happening, but it's the precision with which you're starting and stopping with the actor, and and
Yeah,
that's what I think actually makes it work more than anything. Because if it was slightly off, it would be, I don't know,
yeah,
sloppy is the word, but it just wouldn't be as precise, and
yeah,
it feels
yeah,
like a computer move almost. It's incredible.
yeah. And it's part of the thing that I think initially people don't understand it till they actually watch what it takes to actually pull some of these things off. And some of the shots, when you look at them, like in Asteroid City, there's the shot of General Gibson, Richard Wright. Um, Jeffrey Wright's speech.
Yeah, yeah.
Welcome speech to the stargazers, and that is such a complicated shot. It's so complicated because I had about I had a cue sheet about with about I think there were 38 or 39 different cues and moves for that shot.
Dialogue cues for you to do a different move or whatever.
Dialogue
That's
cues,
amazing.
and some of them aren't even dialogue cues because my cue isn't on his move. My cue is after he moves, just before he lands. It'll be like like a beat before he lands. We move, and so there's Wes doesn't like a lot. If you rewatch the French Dispatch shot, uh, a lot of the shots I leave before him, or he leaves before me, and I arrive on him. So some of those things
But
are, yeah,
it's funny that you say that because I have to, I mean, I've seen it, but I have to watch it again now because to me, it felt like you were going right with him. But I think now that you mention it, I realize that. And I think what I'm actually meaning to say is not that I may have stated it wrong. It's not that their movement with the dolly is married. It's
yeah,
that the dolly is deliberate.
yes,
There's no
yeah.
question that there's a moment exactly when when it's supposed to start, and there's no feathering. There's no, it's
No,
just
yeah,
A
well,
to B.
you hit the nail on the head. Wes, sometimes I can see the camera shaking because of how hard I've stopped it.
Yeah,
The next shot, I'll look at Bob Yeoman, who'll be at the monitor, and I'll be looking at him, and he'll be like, he'll just
I love
signal
it.
to me, feather it a little bit. But if I feather it a little bit, Wes will notice, and
Oh, yes. So
on the and he'll come to me and he's like, "Did you feather that a little bit?" I said, "Yeah, the camera shook a lot on the last one." He's like, "I don't mind the shake, but I hate the feathering."
yeah, so that's so funny because it is that back and forth where you try to hide things in for
Yeah,
the good of the shot. But I mean, the funny thing is it's seeing all the things because I see the stuff you post on on Facebook, and every time something comes up, I'm like, what is it now? And it's almost like you're beginning to butt up against the laws of physics to what you could possibly achieve. Like you're pushing it as far as possible. It's really quite incredible, and it's clearly he puts a tremendous amount of trust in you not only as a technician but also as a storyteller. I mean, that's amazing. It
yeah.
must be a wonderful collaboration to be a part of.
Yeah, it's a lot of responsibility because he does hand over the trust to telling the story in that way to me or to Adam, who's his production designer, or to so many people. He's very, very collaborative, and a lot of people don't realize that because even though he's very singular about what he wants, he's extremely collaborative in the process. And
Great.
yeah,
And have
and
you did you start working with Bob Yeoman with Wes, or did you work otherwise, or?
no, with Wes.
Well, but I did Ghostbusters with Bob. It's the only thing I've ever done with him, and he's such a wonderful person to work with, and
He's
he's
one of the
amazing.
nicest human beings you'll ever meet.
Absolutely is, and
Yeah.
he just loves making movies. And I don't know, did you ever work with him with Casey Hotchkiss as an operator?
No, but I do know Casey, just as because of both of our association with Bob. But I do know Casey, and But Bob loves Casey. He's always telling me stories about Casey.
The two of them, actually, I should say I worked with Bob before on a movie called The Heat, but I day played. And I came in as a Steadicam operator, and I'd never met Casey, but I knew him. And Casey's like this sort of just ornery guy in a lovable way. He's just like,
Yeah, yeah,
and he's constantly, and the two of them are just constantly hurling insults at each other. They love each other, but
yeah, yeah.
and
Bob
at the
absolutely loves him.
Oh yeah,
He
and so Casey was on Ghostbusters, but he was on the Heat also. And I remember it was my first day, and I did a couple Steadicam shots, whatever. And Casey was great, and he goes, "Yeah, like give him a little more headroom here, whatever." He was, and then uh, at the end of the day, the three of us are waiting for the van to take us back to the hotel, and Bob sort of almost physically pushes Casey out of the way and comes over to me and he goes, "Dave, it's so great to have you here." And he goes, "I just can't tell you, like having an actual camera operator is just such a pleasure." And I didn't know what their relationship was, and I'm like, "Oh boy!" And Casey like threw some insult at Bob, and Bob threw some insult at him, and I was like, "Oh, okay, this is actually." The two of them are so great, and Bob is he's such a blast to work with. So,
he's hilarious. He loves.
have
He's a
you
big
done?
prankster.
He's completely. Have you has he done all of Wes's movies with you, or have you worked with other DPs with Wes?
I've worked with other DPs on Wes's short films,
Okay,
and on his commercials.
his
But
commercials.
all the live action movies so far have been shot by Bob.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like the three of you are like this. I mean,
Yeah,
it's like three parts of a whole almost. But
yeah, yeah,
and when you work on the commercials and the shorts,
yeah.
I mean, I'm assuming that they're people who Wesson knows anyway. But do those people realize that you are as big of a part of the process as you are?
Yeah, they do. They do. I
Okay,
think
so
on the H&M commercial, we I worked with Bruno Del Bonel,
yeah.
and
Oh, I love Bruno. I did Macbeth with him. Yeah,
yeah,
phenomenal.
and in I think he told me actually himself. We're great friends, but he told me in the beginning he was a bit, why they make me work with this Indian key grip, and he couldn't he couldn't quite figure it out. But
Yeah,
on day one, he came to me and he told me, he said, this is how I felt initially, but I get it now. but uh,
that's great.
but
That's
but
wonderful.
he's lovely. I love him. And the other DP Wes works with is Darius Konji, and
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
so Bob, Darius, Bruno, and we did a commercial now with Linus Sandgren.
Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah, all amazing people, but clearly I'm sure they know right off the bat that you are a big part of that that thing.
Yeah,
So
but
are
well,
you wor
Darius I work with otherwise as well. He's a good
okay,
friend
so
of
he
mine.
knows you. Yeah. And so are you worried that Wes like is going to start coming up with things that you can't pull off? Like, is that a concern? Because it seems like he probably. I mean, if I was him, I'd go, okay, so clearly there's nothing that this guy can't do, so I'm just going to go hog wild with whatever.
Well, I think I mean I look forward to the crazy stuff he comes up with because in all honesty I we keep going crazier and crazier with the stuff we're doing, and it's kind of what I find it thrilling, but
Yeah,
uh, but I feel like in some ways he after he did the animation stop motion films, it liberated him to you can do stuff that the laws of physics don't allow you to do. So I think
sure.
his style of storytelling, he experimented with moving it there, and when I started giving him ways to do it, he started now writing a lot of his movies in a way that is a little bit animation inspired. So it's
So
quite
you think you've actually affected the process to where he's
well.
leaning in that direction because he knows he can pull it off, or you can
Yeah,
pull it off. Right?
that's what he told me. He says, if you keep finding solutions, I'll keep finding ways to
Great. But
to
because you and I both said crazier and crazier, I think one of the things that amazes me about it is when I see the shots,
yeah,
they're actually very simple.
yeah,
And that's the beauty of
yeah,
them. But then when you see what it took, or even before you see what it took, when you try to
yeah,
imagine what it might have taken,
yeah.
um, it's just like this isn't the kind of thing that should work, but somehow it does. But that's the thing that I love about them is they're just it's very simple, elegant storytelling, and
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like it's crazy, which is a total testament to you because it should feel crazier than it is. I guess maybe that's what I'm trying to
Yeah,
say.
I mean,
Yeah.
some of the solutions I'm not sure myself. Sometimes I know in my head it should work, but I keep thinking, ah, you know, why has no one ever tried this before?
Yeah.
And then I try it and it works, and then Wes gets really excited that it worked, and yeah, then the next time he comes up with so that becomes another tool in his arsenal, and the next time we come up with something else,
Let me ask you a question, and maybe I hope this doesn't sound wrong because I'm trying to think in my head, will it? But so take it with a grain of salt if it does. But I'm wondering, growing up in the film industry in India,
Yeah,
where you may not, I'm making an assumption here, so tell me if I'm wrong, but especially in the early parts, you may not have had all the equipment at your disposal that maybe we might have in the United States, where we can
yeah.
go to a grip house and we can go to this and whatever. Do you think that that is part of the reason why you are so, there's got to be a way to figure this out and we'll go get this from the hardware store and put it together because
Without
you
a
didn't have
doubt,
a choice? Yeah.
without a doubt. When I think it's two things. The first is we didn't have we didn't have a lot of equipment. In fact, we had very little equipment.
Yeah.
We had to build a lot of the things that that we needed. If there was a shot that we had to try and figure out, we had to build it to try and figure it out. And the other aspect of it is that I was never told the right way to do something, because I never studied to be in the film industry. So and I so I kind of learned my own method, which for whatever it's worth was not the standard way.
Yeah, well, it just occurred to me that it's in a weird way, yeah, you may have benefited by not being able to take the easy way out all the time and just going, oh, I can buy this widget and whatever. It's more sort of
Yeah,
like, how can I make this? And then, of course, as you're making it, you're going, you know what, I could do this better than that, or whatever.
yeah.
That's amazing. So, you've worked with Scorsese on a couple of movies,
No, just
and then
just silence.
just Silence. What was that
Yeah.
like? What's it like working with Scorsese?
Well, interesting. I was key grip second unit. So what we did was we had many scenes where we were filming out from sea back to land, and so main unit was shooting all the angles looking out to sea, and second unit was shooting all the stuff looking back to land. And we'd still be reporting to Rodrigo, the DP, but it was like two separate units because
Ah,
they had to clear complete. We would start from a different place, and it was quite complicated the way we were working. So a lot of the I've worked with Rodrigo before, and I'd worked with quite a few of those people before, and it was interesting. It was a really really tough shoot, really tough conditions, very grim story. Uh, you know, um, Hard, really hard in many ways.
yeah,
We were filming a lot of marine stuff in a really violent sea. Um, there was a lot of rain. A lot of the sets were washed away. Were like filled with mud, and just tough, just tough, cold, wet. Um, and it's interesting because it was one of those things where the director doesn't talk to you directly. So all your information comes via the DP. So
yeah,
it's not collaborative in that sense with the director. But
gotcha.
for me, it was a bucket list thing,
Yeah, of course.
working.
Well, and you sort of touched on one of the reasons what I was asking because I was wondering about this. Is it is it? I mean, it seems like what do you do? A Wes Anderson movie every other year or something like that, almost, and then
Yeah,
stuff in between, obviously shorts
yeah,
and this and that and the other.
yeah,
Is it tough to be on a Wes Anderson movie where you are literally in the center of everything, right next to him,
yeah.
and then be on something else where it's you're just sort of waiting for your marching orders and okay, this is my job. Is there like a reset that has to happen with you?
Yeah, there's a reset that has to happen. It's a, it's a lot. It's a massive reset actually because you want to be more involved, but you understand it's a much bigger machine, and it has its own way of working, and you need to play your part in making sure that your end of it gets taken care of. But
So you just it's a mental game at that point.
yeah, it is. But having said that, I've worked on big movies which are also very similar to like on the Born Supremacy, for example, on Mission Impossible uh, I work with Dan Bradley, the second unit director, quite a lot, and he can be tough. Not many people like working. I know many people who don't like working with him. I personally love working with him because he's very exacting, and I like that because I like when there's no room for error, and you need to get it right,
Yeah.
and it's a lot of people get lost sometimes when you have someone like him who's a very very harsh taskmaster. They get
Yeah.
lost in the fact that they think the movie is more important than it actually is. uh, for me, that never happens. I know it's still a movie, so I don't get lost in the fact that I mean, I obviously always want to do my best, and I want to deliver every single time. But I never get lost in the fact that just because there's like some big shot screaming his head off, it doesn't mean that this is the end of the world.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I always find it very easy to reset my brain to just get on with the task at hand.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Have you ever had a time on set where you completely failed?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've
Want to
I
share
have. Yeah,
it?
yeah, yeah. You know, we uh, we built. I built a rig which I thought was going to work really well. It was a spinning rig for. We needed the camera to. Basically, what they wanted to do was uh, they wanted to undercrank, overcrank the camera, so it was going to be very high speed, but it had to look like the camera was traveling around this basketball player in real time, like it was. So we had to spin it really, really, really fast,
Really
and
fast. Yeah.
and what I'd done was my initial idea was to have it was a hub that was suspended over the basketball player's head with an arm going out, and we were spinning the hub. And my idea was initially to have it a rigid, locked off sort of counterbalanced arm with a motor on the top. And the director could never make up his mind on how far, what lens he wanted to go with, and how far. So I had to make it adjustable.
Oh,
So it
geez.
was it was a little bit like a slider, and we finally found the frame, adjusted it, locked it off, and I guess I hadn't locked it off properly, and
Oh,
we started up the rig, and it was going fine, and it was gaining speed, gaining speed, gaining speed, and suddenly I heard this almighty crash, and the whole carriage had the lock that had locked the carriage in place had opened. Maybe it wasn't locked enough, or maybe the centrifugal force was just more than we had calculated
yeah.
for, and
Yeah.
it flew all the way down to the end of the arm, and the mount for the underslung camera kind of cracked, but luckily it didn't fall all the way down, but it was dangling off the end. And
Oh my
and I was like,
gosh.
I was holding my head. I was like, okay, back to the drawing board on this one now.
All
But
right. So even at your stage of the game, there's things that don't work.
yes, you have to basically, uh, in hindsight, you always know what the problem was, but
Yeah.
the more you do it, the more of that whole arsenal of mistakes you have to draw upon when you go to it. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I worked with a a director called Stephen Knight. I don't know if you know who he is. He's an English
No, no, no.
director. He created a show called Peaky Blinders, which is it's
Oh yeah,
a
I love Peaky Blinders. Yeah, my
yeah.
my friend Simon Dennis shot the first like 4 seasons or something like
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
so so he's the Stephen Knight's the creator of Peaky Blinders, and directed I think the first bunch of them, but he's the writer of the show as well. And he also wrote and directed a film called Lock with Tom Hardy. I don't know if you've
Okay,
seen it about the guy in the
I
car.
haven't.
Hey, so he wrote this film called Serenity, and they got in touch with me to work on it. And very interestingly, I was told that I was given a reference for the sort of to, he wanted to do a shot that would trigger a feeling in your mind, something that would hint that you're inside a video game, but you shouldn't know that. And one of the references he gave me was a camera move from it was a I think it was a game called Grand Theft Auto, and it's this camera following in sort of a god mode behind, and then it suddenly when the guy stops, it swings around and comes to the front lower,
Uh-huh.
and
Yeah,
uh, and I was like, this kind of a move is like it's not really doable in the world of outside of animation. And he was
yeah.
like, and they were like, no, 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 we have to replicate this. And we can we do it with Steadicam? Can we do it with motion control? And we're shooting on a small island off the coast of Africa, and
Oh, jeez.
in the middle of sugarcane fields, trying to get a motion control rig there. I say, there's got to be another way to do this, and I came up with a rig, which is so simple. It's completely mechanical off a dolly, and I'll show you a video of it at some point.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, that's great. That's great. But you just came up with it with basic. So it's just like how do the laws of physics work, and how do I manipulate those to make this happen?
Yeah, and it was all with bits and pieces that we already had with us.
That's
So
great. That's great. Well, but like we were saying before, like necessity is the mother of invention. Like you didn't
yeah,
have all the things early on, so you just created what you needed.
yeah, exactly.
Is there one rig that you've created over the years that you're sort of most proud of?
I mean, I would have to say it's the dolly switching rig, because I think we've used it so much to such great effect, and I think the variants on that we've done over the years, it keeps evolving into something else. So I think there's another one with a crane that I've done, which I'll show you, but I think the dolly switch rig is probably my favorite.
Yeah, and specifically French Dispatch.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it started before, but yeah, that particular shot with the three switches was very complicated to pull off. A lot more complicated than it seems.
I can only imagine because looking at it, it seems flawless and simple, but clearly it's not.
Well, that's the thing when we did it. I until we actually put the camera. We didn't have a chance to test this beforehand, because the set was only ready the night before we were supposed to shoot. So I went in
Oh
the
my
morning,
gosh!
of the shoot, and we put in the track, and we tested it for the first time about 1.5 hours before we were due to shoot.
Did
So
you did you was there part of you that didn't think that thought it might not work?
yeah, I was worried. Well, I don't sleep very well the nights before these these kind of shots.
I'm sure. Yeah. And did you have a backup plan, or did you just go,
No,
this has to work?
no backup. It had to work. There was no other way.
That's pretty amazing. That's
Yeah.
that's really cool. Well, it works flawlessly, and it's an amazing shot. So congratulations. That's great. So when you're working with Wes Anderson, Bob Yeoman is operating himself. Whatever's operated, like you said, there's not a lot of operating that goes on,
Yeah.
but he doesn't use an operator. But you do a lot of movies where you are pushing dolly with different big operators, right?
Yeah.
So when you think of the good operators that you work with, what do you think it is that makes them good? What makes an operator a great operator to you?
I think it's being able to collaborate with the rest of the crew. I think that's the key, because in terms of framing, most good operators can get that.
Yeah.
The top 10% of the world's camera operators all can frame up well. It's how you get along with the crew and how you manage the crew that really makes the good operator stand out. And I there's an operator. I was a key grip on a movie, and there was another dolly grip, and there was an operator. And I'm not going to take any names on this, but the the operator is a fantastic operator. He's in my opinion one of the best operators I've ever worked with. And I the dolly grip, it was quite a straightforward push in and boom up to an actor's face, and the dolly grip just couldn't get it. He just went on and on and on. And I had worked with the operator before as his dolly grip, and there were about, and this is with a huge director and a huge DP, and you could see that people were beginning to lose their patience.
Yeah.
And and I'd worked with the DP as well before as a dolly grip, and the DP looked at me, like, will you take over? And I
Yeah.
absolutely was not going to do that, because it's just not something I would do. And
Yeah.
but the operator didn't even once suggest it. He just changed the shot a little bit. He didn't once even say that it's, the dolly grips. He's like, oh, no, no, I need to figure this out. It's a little bit complicated. And he tweaked the shot a little bit uh, to the point where it was within the comfort zone of the dolly grip.
Yep.
And he got the shot. And it wasn't the shot that they wanted, but it was a shot that worked. And he worked around it, and it wasn't obviously the outcome he wanted, but he took care of the dolly grip. He really, you know, he made sure that his dignity was intact. He,
Yeah.
he, everyone who knew what was going on knew exactly what was going on at that moment. But
Yeah.
my respect for him at that point was just sky high. I just thought this is the right kind of human being.
Yeah, that's well. I think basically it's that he's got his eye on a different ball, even though he knows he still has to do the work and he has to get the shot and whatever. But
Yeah, yeah,
there's a larger ethos to that.
yeah,
So especially on the Wes Anderson movies, but a lot of movies, you've worked really closely with a lot of big name actors, some of whom are tougher than others.
yes,
um, and can you just talk about that? How does that? Because I mean, on the Wes Anderson movies, you're essentially again doing a lot of operating with the
yeah.
dollies. So how do you work with them when you have to give a note to an actor who maybe is a method actor, and you don't want to get in their space, but you have to get some information across, or any tips for anybody on that? You don't have to
Yeah.
name names.
Well, there's a few things. There's you know, you've you've got to work with them. There's no way around it, and sometimes you need their help. And there are some actors who are not going to help you out, and it's sometimes you just know that it's not they're not going to they they're just not going to help you. So you need to figure it out. You need to come up with a plan. There's some shots which are really really complicated. I had to do a shot where we were on a platform. I had the peewee on in crab mode with the camera offset over the actual steering handle, and I had to track sideways, switch into conventional mode, and track back while an actor walked from one window, came up there, and opened the door and charged towards me, and I was pulling back, and I ended up almost half off a platform, and I told the actor. Um, could you pause for a second before you open the door? And he looked at me and he says, I don't think I could do
Wow.
that.
What do
So,
you do in that situation?
well, you just have to, you have to take a moment and figure it out and try and, maybe try and get help from the director if there's no way around it. Uh, Sometimes the cinematographer will come to your help. Sometimes you need to just go to the director and say, "Look, can we do something about it?" Or take a moment and figure out if there's a way you can. But
Sure.
the most important thing is to stay calm at that moment, because it's not easy when an actor, is going to you know go after you. I've also
Yeah.
had actors, an actor coming up to me and saying that, well, an actor who hadn't learned his lines and was struggling and getting frustrated, and then everything around him was distracting him, and he was with my black. I was all in black. I always wear black behind camera, just because it's less distracting and also reflections. But I had black shoes, but with white soles. And he came to me and he says, the white on your soles is, it's drawing my attention. So,
Oh,
so the
okay.
next day I went out and looked for shoes with black soles as
The
well.
Black Souls. Yeah.
Yeah, just
But
just
but
because just because I didn't want to give him an excuse.
sure. Well, and look, you could look at that and go, "Oh, you got to be kidding me. That's petty, and you're a precious actor, and this and that and the other." But the reality is, and I mean, I don't know where this was coming from. Assuming that it's coming from a real place, if he sees this white thing coming up all the time and it's making him
Yeah,
pulling his eye there,
yeah,
it is an actual problem. So
yeah,
I always with actors, I always look at them, and if look, the easy ones are the best in the world because it's
yeah,
just what can I do for you and we all know them. But the harder ones, the tougher ones, I look at them and I go, what you're doing must just be really hard, which it is, and I can't comprehend it. So I just don't want to be in the way of that.
yeah,
So that's. But I think the way you put it was right. It's almost like you have this checklist. Its first thing is, can I fix it myself? No, I can't. Then can I ask the actor for, could you do me a favor? And
yeah,
I don't know about you, but I always go, look, I'm having a problem here, and I
yeah,
put it as like, can you help me? And if
yeah,
they say no, then it's back to, is there another
yeah,
way I can fix this? And then I think at that point, it is going to the DP or the director and going, look, I got a problem because physics won't allow me to do this. And I've asked, but he
yeah,
doesn't want to open up the door slower. So here's three ways we can change the shot. But what would
yeah.
you like? Yeah. It's all those things. But it's a slippery slope. Do you have anything when you first get on a movie with a new actor? Do you have anything that you do to try to like introduce yourself to them, or do you not introduce yourself to them, or to try to figure out, assess who they are and how they're going to be to work with?
Yeah, I think you have to do it gently, because um, if it's in an environment where they're already stressed, or there's something that they've got, so I try and stay out of their way as much as possible. And then over a movie you have a long period of time, and you try and see, and hopefully the director has, or it hasn't been scheduled where you've got really tough stuff right off the bat.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
sometimes it
yeah.
does, and then there's no way around it. You just got to figure it out. But
Yeah, it's always nice when you have like the softball first day where everybody can just sort of like shake it off and whatever.
yeah,
When you start a big movie, are you nervous?
yes, always, yeah.
Really?
I,
Even at this
I,
point?
yeah, even when I'm working with Wes, who I've worked with so much, I still, on the morning of the first day, I still have that feeling of anticipation, and uh, it's a mix between uh, anxiety and excitement.
That's good. That's great, actually. I mean, the hope is that never go. I mean, it's not. Hope it's not too much, but the hope is that it never goes away, and it's still exciting, right? Because that's why we all
Yeah,
do this. I
I
mean,
think
yeah.
I think the key is to stay excited about what you do. If I still love what I love. Every day that I go to work, I feel like someone's paying me money to, they found the most beautiful place on earth. They You meet the most interesting people on earth, and you get paid money to go there and play. So I find
Yeah.
it like, what's not to like.
How was it opening up the New York Times and seeing your a big story about yourself as Wes
Well,
Anderson's Secret Weapons? And
funny stuff.
how much crap did you get for that the
Oh,
next day?
I got a lot of crap, but I have to tell you, I didn't know about it. I did the interview, but I thought it was part of a piece that was for the launch of Asteroid City, for the release of Asteroid City, because
So you thought they were just going to use a quote or something like that? That you didn't
that's
think it
that's
was
what I
about
thought.
you?
I didn't think it was about me. So I got
Wow.
a call from Focus Features saying that these people from the New York Times want to talk to you about Asteroid City, and they've already spoken to Adrian Brody, and they've spoken to Wes, and they've spoken to. But I didn't realize they were talking to them about me. I thought it was about the movie, and and then then they called me up, and I spoke to them, and then I didn't think anything of it. I took my kids and I took them scuba diving on the East Coast, and I didn't have any internet there, so I didn't know anything. When it came out, I had no idea. And then I went one day. I was at a cafe and I was checking my mail, and I got a mail from Owen Wilson, who had said that, I opened the newspaper and what do I see but my good friend. and and then I was like, oh, okay, I think I need to check this out. And then I went and I downloaded my mail, and I had messages from so many people. And then I went online and I looked at it, and I was a bit shocked. I had no idea that it
Uh,
was.
That's actually that story is even better than just the fact that they did this article about you, because it's a perfect way for it to happen. And I will say that when I saw it, I was just like, boy, first of all, that is so deserved, and second of all, it's so cool that they're like giving you that moment of, because you're clearly such a huge part of the way that Wes Anderson tells stories. It was really pretty cool.
Yeah, it was
It
very
was
funny
neat. And
because Wes sent me a message as well. He sent me a photograph of his coffee cup, and the newspaper opened up on that page.
That's great. That's great. That's very
And
cool. Well, it was a very very cool and well deserved thing. So yeah, that was cool. Listen, Sanjay, this was so cool to me to talk to you, because I've never sat down and talked to you really before, other than, like I said, that
yeah,
5 minutes on whatever. And truthfully, I don't remember when that was, but it was almost like, I think it was before maybe like Facebook and the Steadicam group, because I remember you said, you introduced yourself and you were like, I'm a Steadicam operator. And I sort of was like, wait, I don't, what? Why am I here then if you're a Steadicam? And then you mentioned something that was like a union problem with it or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I hadn't heard of you, and I was like, all right, whatever. But I just remember meeting you and thinking, this guy's pretty cool. And we had a good talk and whatever. And then years later, I start seeing all these unbelievable, crazy shots that you've created. Which I hope, if you'll agree, you'll do a couple of breakdowns on the shots where you explain how you did it and show the behind the scenes for us, because I'd love to
yeah, yeah,
put that
yeah,
out there. It'd be just amazing to do it.
yeah.
But yeah, this was such a pleasure. So I'll leave you with the question that I ask everybody, and you can sort of take us out with it. Uh, a younger operator moving up, someone getting into the business, or Sanjay 20 years ago talking to Sanjay now. What's your advice for how to succeed in this business?
Well, the I think the single most important thing is be enthusiastic and be attentive. I think go on a set, even if you don't have a job. See if you can get onto a set, watch people, observe people, and learn. I think more than people are now very obsessed with the mechanics of operating the Steadicam and the mechanics of. It's not so important. I think it's much more important to understand the storytelling part of it, and understand also the etiquette of conducting yourself on set. I think these are really important things, and I think they'll take you much further in your career than just being able to hold a great horizon and walking around with a Steadicam. I think a lot of those things are overrated as compared to the other things.
I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. We'll be back soon with another great episode. Don't forget to check us out on theop.io for all sorts of information on operating and storytelling. So thanks for listening, and have a great day.